Okay, so have you ever read those posts online that are like, whoa, this is messed up?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Tons.
you just don't know what to think. And that's what we're talking about
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
We are deep diving into a listener submission. This is from the Am I the A-hole subreddit, and it's all about child support and this really, really tough situation.
It's a tough one.
So to get us started, um, can you kind of lay the groundwork for everybody? Like, how does child support even work?
Mm.
What happens when someone doesn't pay?
Yeah. So child support is basically money that a non-custodial parent pays to help with the costs of raising a child.
Right, makes sense.
So it's for things like food, clothing, education, all that good
The
stuff.
essentials.
Exactly. It's supposed to help make sure that the child's needs are met even if the parents aren't together.
And how do they figure out how much someone has to pay?
Well, it varies from state to state, but usually it's based on things like each parent's income, the number of children, and the custody arrangement.
So it's not just like a flat fee for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. It's tailored to each family situation. And the whole point is to try to make things fair for everyone involved.
Okay. So what happens if someone just decides they're not going to pay? What are the consequences?
Well, there are a lot of tools that can be used to enforce child support orders. Things like wage garnishment or intercepting tax refunds.
Wow. So they can really come after you.
Yeah. In some cases, they can even suspend driver's licenses or professional licenses.
Oh, wow. I had no idea it was that serious.
And in the most extreme cases, like we're talking about today, it can even lead to jail time.
Right, because this listener wrote in about her ex-husband who's actually in jail right now for not paying child support.
Yeah. And that's where things get really tricky, because sometimes there are underlying reasons why someone might not be able to pay.
And that's definitely the case here.
Yeah.
So this listener and her ex have been separated for 10 years, divorced for 8, and in all that time, he's only paid $75 in child support. And right off the bat, she was trying to be understanding about his situation because she had to go on public assistance when they first split up.
Which automatically triggers a child support order in most places.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So she actually went to court and got the amount lowered to $350 a month.
Trying to make it manageable.
Yeah. Seemed like she was really trying to work with them.
Right.
But even with a lower amount, he's never consistently paid.
And it sounds like there's a reason for that.
Yeah. He lives with his mom, and they're both addicted to drugs.
And that's just a whole other layer of complexity.
Right, because it's not like he's just choosing to not pay. He's struggling with addiction, and they're living on his mother's widow's pension.
So they're really struggling financially, too.
Yeah, they don't even have electricity or water most of the time.
That's just heartbreaking.
And I think what makes this whole situation even more complicated is that every time he's gone to jail for not paying, he begs her to either drop the child support altogether or just sign over his parental rights.
Yeah, he feels trapped.
Exactly. He's like, just let me out of this.
Yeah, that's a huge decision.
A life-changing one, really.
Especially for the kids.
Yeah. Like, what kind of message does that send to them about their dad, about their family?
And then there's the question of whether he really means it.
Right. Is he just saying that because he's desperate?
And will he regret it later when he's maybe in a better place?
And now she's in this really tough spot because she's actually off public assistance now.
So she could technically survive without the child support.
Exactly. But then there's this other part of her that feels like
maybe these repeated jail stints are actually helping him in a way.
yeah, like maybe it's forcing him to get sober.
Because while he's incarcerated, he can't access drugs.
Right. And she sees that potential for him to turn his life around.
And maybe become a better father to their kids.
But then there's also the guilt.
Right. Like, is she sending him to jail just for a chance at recovery?
Is she using the system to try to fix him?
And is that even fair?
It's such a moral dilemma.
It really is.
And I think that's what makes this story so relatable to so many people.
Because we all know someone who's struggled with addiction.
Right. Or we've seen families torn apart by these kinds of situations.
And there's just no easy answer.
So what are your initial thoughts on this, listener? What sticks out to you?
Well, it's hard to judge without knowing all the details.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important here is to remember that everyone involved is going through something incredibly difficult.
Absolutely. This isn't just a legal issue, it's a human one.
Exactly. And it's about more than just money.
Right. It's about family, it's about addiction, it's about trying to do the right thing when there's no clear path.
And it really makes you think about how our justice system handles addiction.
Yeah. Like, is jail really the best solution?
Or are there other ways to support people who are struggling while also protecting the well-being of their children?
And it really makes you think about the impact on the kids, too.
Oh, absolutely. They're the innocent ones in all of this.
Right. They're the ones who have to deal with the emotional fallout.
And that's something we can't forget.
Definitely not. So where do we go from here? What are some things for our listeners to consider as they think about this story?
Well, I think it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to these kinds of situations.
Right. Every family's different.
Exactly. So it's about finding what works best for everyone involved.
And sometimes that means making really tough decisions.
But ultimately, it's about trying to create a better future for the children.
And I think this deep dive has really highlighted how interconnected these issues are.
Yeah.
Child support, addiction, poverty, the justice system.
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
And it's something that affects so many families.
It's a much bigger conversation than just this one Reddit post.
Exactly. So hopefully this has given you some things to think about.
And maybe even some hope.
Yeah. Because even in the toughest situations, there's always the possibility for change.
And for healing.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Absolutely.